too fired up Friday. Graz, Chiefs, Niners, what are you fired up about
I
for
want
this
to
rematch?
see what the 49ers have, because I think the gap between these two teams has actually widened since the Super Bowl, where the Chiefs got them in overtime. The Niners have a lot of issues to work through injury-wise. Their defense doesn't look right. Can they stand up to the Chiefs in this game, or does it look like the Chiefs still would be the team that has their number if they were to meet in the Super Bowl again, say, next week?
Are the Niners getting their people back?
Eventually.
But they are all coming back? Like, we're expecting McCaffrey and everybody to come back and play?
They do expect McCaffrey to come back at some point this year. It's just we don't know when, and he's got to be fully healthy. So they got to do some stuff in the meantime. Again, their defense doesn't look right. They're fairly healthy on that side of the ball. They're just not getting it done.
Bart, are they still the cream of the crop in the NFC?
I think I would have to put the Detroit Lions up there, even without Aiden Hutchinson. I just think they're complete. They're a physical football team, and they left a lot on the table last year. They had that chip on their shoulder.
Mike T, Chiefs-Niners, what do you think?
Yeah, I think McCaffrey, to me, like, they've missed him, but why I still like them is they've been able to run the ball, and to me, that's something that has still been a vulnerability for Kansas City.
And Kansas City sort of keeps cruising along. They keep winning all these games. We keep saying how they don't look their best. That's what the great teams do, because when they do put it together, they're going to be awfully tough.
I agree. One other thing I'd say, if there was a mortal playing quarterback for Kansas City, they'd be 1-5 because their tackles stink, but they have Superman back there. At some point, that has to catch up.
Andy Reid off a bye, too. Isn't that like some legendary
He never loses.
Yeah,
I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, 130 yards. Like, come on, man. Like, he's making chicken salad out of chicken, you know what.
Well, and thank God you cleaned that up, because you made me very nervous. I literally almost just got up and left the room.
Right on the edge there.
Let me go to the next game here. Mike T, Texans versus Packers. What are you fired up about?
Green, this could be a Super Bowl preview. I know Bart just talked about Detroit, but Green Bay may be the best team in the NFC. And sort of sneaky big news, last week Joe Mixon came back, ran for 100 yards. What did that lead to? 41 points for the Texans. I think there's going to be a really high-scoring game, and I wouldn't be surprised if these two teams played later in the postseason.
This is your game this weekend, Graz. Tell me about open up the notebook. What do we need to know here?
The Texans look at this as like an opportunity, right, to go on the road and get like a signature win. Because they haven't, they beat Buffalo, which is nice, but Buffalo's all banged up, and they kind of let them hang around. So it's like a test, right? Because you're right, like these two teams don't see each other a lot. If they see each other again, they'll both be really thrilled with how the season has gone to that point. So the Texans want to see, sort of how do we stand up against a team like this. They're also down potentially 5 starters on the defensive side of the ball. Houston is very banged up at linebacker and in the secondary, so big test for their defense.
I think you talk about this game is going to feature 2 of the best young quarterbacks, the future of the NFL. It's going to be exciting to see how they match up head to head because they could be on collision courses for years to come.
I worry about. Look, I picked Jordan Love before the season began to be the MVP, and I picked the Green Bay Packers to go to the Super Bowl. We did. Yeah. We both had those picks, and I won't back off them in the bigger picture. But I do Sundays now, and Teddy Bruschi had, it was Rex who has been hammering into my head. Like, Jordan Love makes questionable decisions. He's a lot more like Favre than he is like Rodgers. So puts the ball in harm's way a lot.
And I think the Texans have been stressing that this week. Like, keep the game under control, and he will throw some balls downfield that might be 50-50 balls. If we win those, then we've got a chance.
The biggest X factor of the Packers, they have depth unlike any other team because they're so young. We talk about injuries all over the league, but they go 5 deep at receiver, 2 at tight ends, 2 at running back. That, to me, is the big difference for them.
I understand that. But Jordan Love, at the end of the day, Jordan Love, he is as gifted, I think, as pretty much any quarterback in the league. He has made some decisions. And he had the injury week 1. He was lusty.
Young player.
He's made some decisions that have really made you open your eyes.
And he still doesn't have a lot of experience. So remember, this is on his second year as a starter, so it's defenses and things that he really doesn't understand. He can be fooled at times. And when you're young and you have a strong arm, you have sometimes too much belief in it. You try and fit balls and holes and put the game in harm's way and not being that game manager that sometimes is needed.
It's funny. He's been in the league a lot longer than C.J. Stroud has. But we sort of think of Stroud as the veteran in this game, and Jordan Love still is the guy we're feeling out. All right, Bart, Lions, Vikings, what are you fired up about?
Listen, like to quote Kendrick Lamar, they not like us. And I think that, when the Lions match up against Minnesota, we're going to see that, listen, they're a good team. They're not a great elite team. This is a team that could have lost to the Jets, should have lost to the Jets. And Sam Darnold came back to earth a little bit as now people have the film. When you get to like week 5, then now you have a film where you can assess what people do good and what they don't do good, and then you can devise your plan accordingly. So now we're going to start seeing separations between the good and great teams in this league, and I think this is the first week that we're going to see Minnesota maybe get exposed just a little bit.
So what did you tell me about Sam Darnold? Does he replace his Kirk Cousins then?
Well, he's Sam's nephew, right? So you can call him Sam nephew, not Kirk Cousins, because he's kind of like Kirk Cousins. He's not a great player.
You're suggesting Cousins are a step below,
he's
a step above nephews?
Yeah, exactly. You know, Cousins' nephew. I was trying to be smart.
No, I understand. It was smart. It was funny, but I'm trying to gauge
a little bit of a reach
why you're placing nephews below cousins. I could have seen, like, you know, second cousins once removed or something like that.
I keep working on it.
Because cousins are probably the same age, right? So, like, you hang out with them. Your nephew sometimes can be a lot.
Fair enough. I think you need to test that one on the road before we bring it. Go ahead.
Greedy, I'm doing this game with Steve Levy on ESPN Radio, and it is an unbelievable environment in that stadium, and it's going to be really loud. And to me, home field advantage is going to be a big difference, and here's why. No Aiden Hutchinson. I don't know about how Detroit's going to get pressure. Remember, no Marcus Davenport either. How is Aaron Glenn the defensive coordinator of Detroit, are they going to blitz more? I'm really fascinated by that. But on the other side of the ball, this is where the pressure package works because it's so loud in Minnesota.
Well, how do you beat pressure? By running the football. And the Lions do that better than
they do. And that's why I still like, look, you said the Packers could be the best team in the NFC. They could also be the third best team in their own division.
That's right.
That's what we've got going on there in the NFC North. I think the Vikings coming off the bye, the Lions on the road for the second straight week, that kind of tipped it for me a little bit because I do think the Vikings are legit. But I'm with you. If the Lions, don't rule out the Lions just because Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. They still have that offensive line that can control games, and that is going to hold up all year.
And something we'll talk about later. What are the Lions going to do to replace Aiden Hutchinson? There's been so much speculation about trades. Put Teddy to work. I told you we got Teddy.
Hold position.
The game is called Teddy Set Go. Teddy, can Davante Adams save the Jets' season? What do you say?
All right, fellas, let's get it started. I think he can. I mean, he needs a lot of help, but this can be a turnaround for the New York Jets. He comes in, Wilson settles into his new role as the Z, Allen Lazard. Maybe the defense gets better at stopping the run, but it's got to happen fast because they lose this one versus Pittsburgh and they get to 2-5. That's a big hole they're going to have to dig themselves out of.
Well, if they lose, I can't wait to see what move they make next week. Next, does Amari Cooper make Buffalo the biggest threat to Kansas City in the AFC? Teddy.
They're not even the biggest threat to Kansas City even after Amari. Amari's going to help, but man, you got the Baltimore Ravens. That'll say a lot to say in it. And also, don't sleep on the Houston Texans. They're playing great football, but Amari does make them better. I mean, how much better is up to them on how much they want to work and how much production he can have. But sure, they can get it going, and this is a team that will contend to play on championship weekend.
Speaking of contention, all signs point to Russell Wilson getting the ball Sunday night against the Jets. Does this give Pittsburgh their best chance at making the playoffs, replacing Justin Fields with Russell?
I don't know. It's not a yes or a no. I don't know. I don't know what Russell can show them. I haven't seen him in practice. I know what Russell looked like last time he was on the field. It was okay. But can Russell all of a sudden turn this team around? I mean, this is a question that a lot of players in the locker room probably have too in terms of how Russell will look.
Well, let me give you a little bit of the insight here. And by that, I mean, let me turn to Dan Graziano, who has a little bit of the insight here on how they're handling this week, because we're all acting like this decision has been made, but they are not.
Right. So Mike Tomlin tells his staff beginning of the week, get both guys ready, and I'll make a decision late in the week who it's going to be. Now, everything, Russell Wilson's taken a lot more first-team reps than he had been before. The way he and Justin Fields both talked yesterday, it sounds like they're expecting Russell Wilson to start. As of last night, I don't believe a final decision had been made. It does seem like Mike Tomlin is at least interested in seeing if the offense can be a little bit crisper with Russell Wilson than Justin Fields. It's just like, it's confusing. Some people, I've talked to a bunch of people close to this situation who are perplexed, who are wondering exactly why Mike Tomlin would make this move now with a 4-2 team, with a quarterback that, not perfect, but hasn't really turned the ball over, has run the game plans they needed him to run. I think even if Russell Wilson does start, you might see some plays for Justin Fields in this game because that was their plan going into week 1 before Russell got hurt. But, yeah, it could definitely be Russell Wilson starting his first game for the Steelers.
So, Bart Scott, if you were playing on that Jets defense this Sunday night, which quarterback would you rather face, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields?
Russell Wilson, because I know it's a immobile target, right? He's a guy that he's coming off a calf injury. He's not going to want to run. So I can play certain defenses. I can expose edges. I can overload blitz. I don't have to be fundamentally sound because I'm daring him to run and put that calf in harm's way. He hasn't ran full speed. And also, the Jets really struggle stopping the run. With Justin Fields, he's an extension of the run game because he has the threat to keep the football. So now if you're the backside defensive end, the backside linebacker, you have to stay disciplined. You're not going to be able to run over the top and try and get involved in the play front side. You got to stay with your principles, wind back, cut back, and boot reverse.
Gray, I want to go back to a word that Graz used about being more crisp on offense. I think it's a little bit different. I think it's more explosive. Football usually comes down to 2 to 3 plays in a game, and I'm sure Mike Tomlin's sitting there saying, we're 27th in the league in yards per dropback, and we need to hit 1 or 2 home runs a game, and that's something that Russell Wilson in his career has been able to do. And I know, as Graz mentioned, we haven't seen that last couple of years, but if we're looking at ways to improve our team, you have the trade deadline. Certainly you want to add a receiver, but improvement from within, I'm sure that's what Mike Tomlin is saying. Like, does this give us the capabilities of getting 1 or 2 chunk plays that right now we just can't get?
Let's get Teddy back in. I can see you. Teddy, what do you think?
Yeah, I just think that I want to see them both. I think that's when they would be most dangerous. I think, what Justin showed in the past 6 weeks? No, you're right, Tannenbaum. He's not the best deep ball thrower or getting it down the field, but he's shown defenses that he's capable of also throwing the football down the field. He can still get it done. So if Fields came in as defensive players, now you say, okay, he can do both, all right? Do we think he's going to run the football? Probably, but still, you got to respect the fact that he's shown 6 games of tape of trying to get the football down the field, and they'll attempt it. So having that threat of him doing both things and then him coming in, Russ coming in, or Russ starting, I think that's the best way for these guys to go. And Mike Tomlin, he's got to think about how's he going to beat Baltimore, how's he going to beat Kansas City if they're behind 13 in a playoff game or anything like that. Is Justin Fields going to be able to drop back and throw it, 30 some odd times and we win? I think that's all he's thinking too.
It's just strange timing, right? Because like the Jets are vulnerable to the run. Your run game is going to be better with Justin Fields. Your center is hurt. You've been dealing with offensive line injuries all year. So a quarterback that can run around, help his own protection, might be better this week. It's just odd. And again, explosive plays, like they got one receiver in George Pickens who they don't seem to fully trust. Like, who's making these explosive plays even if Justin Fields can hit them?
Well, maybe this week they'll still add in a Taysom Hill package, something like that, because he is a guy that can throw the football, but he can use his athleticism on 3rd and short because he is a threat to keep the ball, and he's good enough in throwing the ball that you have to at least respect him.
Yeah.
Greeny, to quote you, here's sneaky big news. Through 6 games, which is 1/3 of the season, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Justin Fields have scored 11 more points than Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. That's stunning.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, okay, so hold on a second. I have to Cindy, can we come back? I have to. I can't have that. All right, I can't have that. No,
It's just the facts.
No.
Time out.
No.
Go to the corner.
No.
Go to the
We
corner.
won't. No, we'll have none of that. Okay. All right. So that's enough of that. Okay. So now we'll come back and we'll talk about the Jets. So Rex Ryan was on Bart's radio show, Bart and Hahn, on ESPN.
facts.
No, Mike is in timeout.